I think baseball will always be special to me because there really is no other game like it, maybe with the exception of cricket. But here's the thing: you play 9 innings, you have 27 outs, there's 3 outs per inning, 3 times 9 is 27, and the math behind it just works. It just works. There's something to it. There's three balls, no, there's 4 balls to a walk and 3 to a strike. You still need, you know, because your goal at the end of the day as a batter is to swing the bat when you're at the plate. And if, you know, but you are given the benefit of the doubt if you can easily recognize when it's a ball or strike. And if you do it with 4 balls in one at bat, you get to go to first, and that's only fair. And assuming you're not hit by a pitch, you're going to have to face either a strike or a ball, you know. So there's that. There's another thing about baseball is that there is no standard dimension. Now, I think that maybe if you started the MLB, later on, there would have been a standard dimension that every batter would have had to hit from, and or have to reach. It would have to be, let's say, 330 feet down the line, not 313 in Yankee Stadium or 310 at Fenway with the Green Monster sort of thing, or the pesky pole at 302 or whatever. It would have had to have been 330 feet down the lines probably, but today we don't have that, and it's 340 feet in Colorado, just for reference. But I think the reason why it does work in baseball is because there are going to be different elements. You are going to have a windy Chicago day at Wrigley. You're going to have the ball flying out in Colorado. If it was 310 feet, everybody would be hitting home runs in Colorado. But that's not the case. It's about 340 feet, and it's the longest distance to hit a homer, too, in Colorado. And it's and for good reason, because when that ball, being over at 5,000 feet of elevation, you're going to need, you're not getting a shutout at Coors Field. It's just not happening. Now, I think looking back more on baseball is that, even the little guy can be a hero too. And I think that, and you take a look at basketball, you take a look at hockey, you take a look at football, or even soccer. That ball or puck can be in their possession, and they can score the winning goal or point or touchdown. They can do it. And if they don't, and it's also reassuring for that team that wants to win the game, that there's star players out there, and they know and they can trust him or her. But in baseball or softball, you have to step up to the plate, and you have to deal with the card you handed. You put in the lineup card, hence you have to deal with the card you've been dealt with in life. And baseball is the perfect metaphor for life. It is, and you also have to show up to the field every day, kind of like going to work and practicing. And even if it's not work, you have to practice. You need to sharpen your skills every day. And that's the perfect metaphor for life. And there's very rarely ever anything that you could compare it to. And I think, and back before anything, is that there was no clock in baseball until we received the pitcher's clock. And it did speed up the game, though. But I think it was. Now, the one thing I don't like in the MLB, at least, is the runner on second. And you strike out, you get to go to second. I don't like that. In the bottom of the ninth, you don't get to go to second. You need to sit on the bench and wait your turn. That's kind of the whole point of baseball, is that you have to earn your place. You have to earn your place on the team. You have to earn your place at second. If you want to be at second, hit a double, or hit a single, or get to first some way and steal second. That's how you do it. That's how you should do it. Because any team can come up in the bottom of the ninth and hit a single, and guess what? The runner on second can score. What's the point of that? I don't like that aspect of it. Now, back to stadiums, though. Yankee Stadium, the original, had its place in history. And it's also Fenway and Wrigley. They had their place in history. Their goal was to promote baseball, and it did such a good job. And Wrigley Field built itself up from what was a minor league park to arguably one of the best ballparks in America. And today we look at stadiums like my favorite stadium, Oriole Park. We can take a look at that and we can admire the unique features of it. And that's the other thing, too. Everything is pretty standard in the NHL or the MLB, and even the NFL to a certain degree, because it's a set guideline of dimensions in football. It's 120 yards total if you count the 10-yard end zones, from distance to distance, minus maybe some grass patches here and there. And you have to build the seating area around it. And in basketball and hockey, you're indoors for the most part, and you might have something like the Saddle Dome in Calgary, where it's where you'll admire some unique features from the exterior, but you step in there, other than maybe the color of seating and maybe the glass, it's pretty standard for what it's worth. And also, there never could be a sport like it again. And whether it's played in a dome or on a field, or just under an enclosed roof or whatever, the sound of the bat and being able to fail 70% of the time and still go to the Hall of Fame is also one sport that no other sport has, that you can't fail 70% of the time. You have to be able to get like 60-70% success. And if you can't do that, you don't succeed. Kind of like in a class. But baseball is different because, it's designed to be hard. It's designed for failure. And in life, you go through failures, and it's how you rise above it that makes the ultimate difference. And that is why I love baseball so much.